Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. I'm Colin, and today we're going to be doing a review of the brand new King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, Flight B741. Now, this is the 26th full-length LP from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Australian psych rock extraordinaires. This is probably, I think, one of their, I don't want to say more unique albums they've put out, but it's definitely a genre they haven't really explored before. But before we get into the music itself, let's talk about the physical release. So there's a couple things that I really love about this release. First and foremost, this album came out yesterday, and I got the actual vinyl in today. So that is incredible. That's about as good as you can get when it comes to trying to pair both the physical release of an album and the digital streaming release of an album. I think it's really, really cool that they're able to still do that, considering they do just about everything themselves. On top of that, at least the last, I want to say 8 or 9 records I've gotten from them, they come with their own high quality cardboard exterior sleeves, which is awesome. It saves me the trouble of having to put them in like a plastic or vinyl exterior sleeve. It does make also for an interesting aesthetic, as it's pretty hard to tell which record you are pulling when you've got them kind of organized on your shelf, because there are no spine any sort of indicators on the spine of what album it is. So you kind of just have to remember the order that you put them there. I've got them in release order, so at least there's that. But yeah, and then as far as the actual release goes, really, really cool album cover. Pretty indicative of like what the lyrical content is on at least a few tracks of the album. You've got this weird sort of mashed up, pieced together MacGyvered plane with a bunch of pigs on it, which does allude to a lot of the lyrics in at least the title track. This is a gatefold album, even though it's a single LP, but really cool just imagery on the inside. Again, just kind of close-ups of this. Apparently, all of the plane itself and all the pigs were hand modeled by a friend of theirs, and then he also took all the photos. And then on the back here, you've got just the band with the track listing and matching jumpsuits, and then a pig. What I also really love about this release, not nearly enough bands do this anymore, but it does come with a poster insert. So on one side, hard to see, you've got just the band kind of in the cockpit of the plane, and then on the other side, just again the album cover, or at least a different angle of the same model that's on the album cover. So yeah, I mean, these guys, they always knock it out of the park with physical releases. You're definitely getting your money's worth. I definitely appreciate the effort and thought that goes into still doing a solid physical release. The inner sleeve as well, it's got, lyrics printed on it, which I always love. I love being able to still have lyrics present, be able to follow along with stuff. So yeah, it's a really, really cool album. And definitely something that, again, I just really appreciate a lot of thought and effort that goes into a physical release. And then, yeah, the actual album itself, 180 gram press. It is really, really high quality sound. It's what I've come to expect and assume that every single, Giz record is going to be higher quality. It's just something they put a lot of thought and effort into. And it's just a clear black vinyl. I do like, this is the only pressing so far that's available of this album. As much as I love fun variants and color schemes and all this other stuff you can get with actual physical releases, there's something to be said about just a solid high quality 180 gram heavyweight vinyl that sounds awesome. So yeah, really knocked it out of the park with this one, and I would expect nothing less from the guys over there at their new record label, I guess now is P Doom. But it's pretty much the same people that's been putting out their stuff for a long time. All right, as far as the music itself goes, this is an interesting one from them. So this is, I think, the first time they've really just kind of written a straight up rock and roll album. And I gotta say, it's pretty damn good. The opening vibes I really got off of it were if you took kind of like early Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, maybe some Doobie Brothers, some Allman Brothers, little ZZ Top, and maybe some Lynyrd Skynyrd, and threw them all together and put like Gizz's signature flair on it. It is a very interesting album, just as far as like the dichotomy between the instrumentation and the actual lyrical content. Some songs have really, really deep, dark, meaningful lyrics, like the opening couple tracks, Mirage City and Antarctica. And then they've got some really like fun and whimsical lyrics on like La Risk or Hog Calling Contest, or even the title track of Flight B741. It's an interesting ride for sure. I don't want to get too heavy into lyrics because there is some wild stuff that really like you kind of have to listen to the first time. The closing track, or not the closing track, but the second to last track of Rats in the Sky, I'm pretty sure is just told from the perspective of a seagull and like a day in the life of a seagull. So yeah, there's some wild lyrical content on this that is interesting, set against the pretty classic, traditional, just like Southern rock and roll, the vibe that they're going for here. I mean, throughout the album, you've got a lot of like crunchy, fuzzy guitars. You've got some organ. You've got a lot of harmonica. Like the rhythm section is just really, really fun and classic. Yeah, there's definitely some standouts on this album. Again, the first opening, like 3 tracks of Mirage City, Antarctica, and Raw Feel are very just like kind of laid back, groovy blues rock with a little bit of like Southern rock and roll thrown in. The harmonies in the chorus are really cool. And then it goes into Field of Vision, which is just a really kind of playful opening riff. It's refreshing, again, just to see them do like a straight up rock and roll album and really kind of flex their chops on this style of music. And then it gets into Hog Calling Contest, which I said earlier, again, it's a really fun song, like lyrically. There's some interesting stuff going on there, but the music itself, it's borderline like rockabilly in the rhythm section, just really fast paced, upbeat, with again more kind of just groovy blues rock guitar on top of that. You know, it's got a lot of harmonica, piano, and then the guitar hook on it is just really catchy. Then it goes into La Risk, which was the first single on the album, and it's by this point in the album that I don't know why I didn't catch this earlier, that I realized thinking back to the music video for this, that this is the first time that I think every single member of the band is actually singing. And then I read, and that is actually the case. I guess when they went into the studio, each member of the band brought lyrics with them to contribute to certain songs, and they each brought a set of lyrics for each song, and then ended up all just singing their own lyrics on the songs, which it's pretty cool. Usually it's Stu or Ambrose kind of sharing the vast majority of the vocal duties, and it's interesting to see them all kind of pitch in together. This song in particular is just, again, super fun, really kind of funky, almost Southern rock and roll, a lot of harmonica still. The one thing I will say is that a lot of the sounds and the tuning of their guitars and a lot of the way that they're setting up and the chords that they're playing are very similar throughout this whole album. Now, that's not necessarily different for King Giz. I know when they do an album, they like to kind of expand on whatever sound they're feeling at that time. A lot of bands, they'll find a sound and, do it for like a song or two. And Giz likes to do that across multiple albums, or at least one album dedicated to at least one type of music or song itself. But yeah, and then so after La Risk, we go on to the title track. Like I said, really kind of laid back, groovy jam with some fun vocals, fun lyrics. Sad Pilot, again, really groovy. This one I get a lot of Lynyrd Skynyrd on, some Doobie Brothers as well. Then Rats in the Sky, very plucky bass, some playful verses, much more piano heavy than a couple of the other tracks. Again, this is the one that I'm pretty sure is told from the perspective of a seagull. And then it closes out with Daily Blues, which is, again, I mean, the name is pretty on point there. It's a straight up blues jam. I get a lot of like B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan vibes off of it. And it's probably I think the best solo on the album, at least in the middle of it. Yeah, so overall, guys, this is such a fun album. I'm feeling a solid B+ on this. It's definitely not a, masterpiece by any means. I think if anything, it's a little linear. There's not a lot of diversity on the album itself, but it's interesting to see them like do their take on such a popular, well-known style of like 70s Southern rock and roll, blues rock and roll, and honestly, they do it very well. It just goes to show that even when they play it safe, they're still doing it better than like almost anyone else. I don't know of many bands that could do this style nowadays and still have it sound simultaneously refreshing and familiar. So yeah, definitely go check it out. If you already have, let me know down in the comments what you think. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.